Welcome to my channel, Mixed Media Creations. Hi, it's me, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill. Today we have an art journal tutorial, step-by-step process video, telling you all the inside tips and tricks. If you want to support my channel, you can shop through my Amazon influencer links, or you can click on the PayPal link. Both of these are in the description box below. Want to support my channel another way? Hit the subscribe button. Share this video with your creative friends. So to start with, I am using my Mixed Media 7x10 art journal. And I tape off the edge to keep the modeling paste and paint from getting in the coils, and it gives me a nice clean edge at the end. And I'm applying a coat of gesso. Now I only do the art journaling on one side of the page because I find if I want to do something with it, take it out, frame it, that just makes it easier. So as you watch me put a coat of gesso, which is the start of all my pages, I just want to give a special shout out and thank you to Barbara R. and Georgianne S. Thank you so much for your generous donations through my PayPal link. I totally appreciate it, and I appreciate the comments that you give and the open creationships that we have developed over time. So thank you so much. So once this is gessoed, I decide to pull out napkins. Now I have a whole box of these napkins in my stash and I do not maximize them. So in the spirit of build your stash, I just pulled out this one. I was thinking about going kind of yellow with pink, and so that's what caught my eye. Now as I put this on there, I peeled off both layers of the white napkin. And you saw me use a little bit of tape to kind of get it to stick and pull off, and I find that's the easiest way to do it. But as I put it there, before I collaged it down, I thought, oh, you know what, maybe some of this music note will show up through the napkin. So I ripped some of my vintage music paper. This is colored the old-fashioned way over time. And I'm just gluing this down with gel medium. Now I prefer gel medium because I like the matte finish that it gives. But you can use Mod Podge or whatever adhesive that you have. When I first started using gel medium, I didn't like it because it doesn't seem to stick instantly. But I kind of kept working with it, and I prefer. I've continued to buy the Liquitex brand, and I get it when there's a 55% off coupon at Michael's. My gesso was not a brand name. It was kind of the economy line from art stores. So I put the gel medium and the adhesive underneath and then over top. And now I'm going to adhere the napkin onto here. Now at this stage, other than the colors and I want to use the napkin, I don't know what I'm going to do with this from now on. And you'll see that I ripped the napkin, I just kind of flipped it back in place and it glued. There are some creases, that just adds texture. What I find is if you use gel medium, if you thin it down or use the liquid medium, it's a little more gentle when you're gluing down the fragile napkin. Using a softer brush will also help prevent that. So this is a great way to start off your art journal page. It gives you something to jump off of. Now I could have used scissors and cut this off. I just decided to just rip. And I'm okay with the kind of ripped, tattered edges. I think that just adds to it. So basically we've collaged on here. So the next step, I'm going to use a stencil and I'm going to put some modeling paste through it. Now I've chosen a stencil quadrifoil stencil that has wider spaces, so it's going to cover a lot of the background. So this is going to push some of what's in the back from the napkin back and then add the pattern of the quadrifoil stencil. And as you can see, some areas have more modeling paste. This is light and fluffy modeling paste from the Crafter's Workshop, and some have less. Now this modeling paste is going to take the medium different than the napkin that has been gel medium down. So after cleaning up the modeling paste, I'm going to wash my stencil from the modeling paste. Now, I don't mind if there's acrylic paint on here. Every once in a while, I throw it and I wash, and I can put a link to that video. It's in Craft Hack, how I clean my stencils, and I have several varieties that I've learned over time. So now I decide I'm going to continue with stencils. This is Believe Script, and it again is a Crafter's Workshop stencil. It's a new one that I bought, and I thought, you know, I'm just using archival ink through this stencil. I just want a little bit of script and interest in the background. You really can't make out what the words are. I could have used acrylic paint at this time, but I want something permanent. So archival ink will be permanent when it's dry, and so will acrylic paint. And if you're just beginning, if you avoid using things that are water soluble while you're learning, that'll just remove one element of something. Now, I discovered after doing this page that the Pantone color of 2019 is coral. And actually, that's kind of where I'm going with this page. And I take my quinacridone magenta and my yellow, Naples yellow, and when I mix them, I get a coral. So I mix some of it and apply it, and I'm kind of, you know, going for the color that I see in the napkin. And so the napkin has given me inspiration. So if you're not sure what color to go with, pick color from, you know, you could use a scrapbook page behind here, you can use collage papers, you can use wrapping paper, something with color. But napkins are fairly cheap and inexpensive, and if you get together with friends, everybody can buy one package of napkins, and then you split them up and everybody gets, you know, 2 or 3 of the same kind, which is plenty. So now I'm just applying paint, and I'm counting on that the modeling paste is going to take the paint a little differently than the napkin layer underneath it. What you'll also see here is some of the napkin, especially the greens and some of the details of the napkin, still show through. And so while the flower, you won't see it as a focal point anymore, it has added layers. Now I'm using a baby wipe and I'm just lifting off some of the color, especially on the modeling paste. And I like this look that where what's been on there with modeling paste is much lighter, and it really allows for the texture of the modeling paste to stand out, so you really see that pattern. If you don't have the quadrifoil stencil, although I do recommend, it is a wonderful stencil that I have utilized. It's so versatile, and it's kind of neutral to whatever theme or color scheme or whatever you're using. It's one that I've definitely got my money's worth. But if you have a stencil that has larger spaces where the modeling paste will fill in, that would be a good selection. I'm just adding color here and there. And some of it I mixed and I made the coral color, and some of it I applied where it's more Naples yellow. So I like the Naples yellow, so I grabbed these butterflies. Now these butterflies are very tiny. something you might cut out of a magazine, and I'll talk about where I got them later on and show you. But if you have a focal point, a focal image that is smaller, it's a stamped image, because often their stamps are smaller. This is a way I'm going to mount them on these circles, and that's going to give them a little bit more weight on your page and allows you to use smaller focal points that you might cut out of a magazine. A gardening magazine will often have lots of butterfly ones. Or you might have your own ability to make die cuts, butterflies. But again, typically they're smaller scale, which is also why I like using the 7x10 mixed media paper, because it allows me to use focal points that aren't quite as big. So the reason you see these circles here, that I've cut those out with my punch, I am very visual. I need to see it. For me to take the circle template and just draw them on there, I find a little bit more difficult. I like to kind of have a plan. So I just take the circles and I throw them on there and I see what appeals to me. Some I have going off the page. That is a good composition trick. And some are layered and some are single. There's yellow in the background, and that's why I picked the yellow butterflies. So now I want to make these circles pop, and I grab my Inktense pencil in a burgundy-ish color and try to activate it. Now, the Inktense is ink, and it will be permanent when it's dry. So there's the advantage over watercolor, which, as long as you add, you don't seal it or fix it with a fixative between layers, it's going to reactivate. And that may give you an effect that you don't like. So I'm not happy with the amount of contrast there, so I grab my black paint and my angle brush, and I'm just going to put black around here. Now there's a little bit of dark brown that you can see peeking through the napkin, and that's why the black works here. I could have tried a dark brown. I don't have a dark brown, so what I would have done is take the black with the brown that I have and make it black. And actually here what I'm doing instead is I'm taking the burgundy paint and the black and kind of making a very dark black cherry. So it's not quite as stark as just going straight up black. And I'm using the float acrylic technique. Now the secret here, on one side of the brush you're putting water. I'm dipping it to water, that's at the top part of the screen. And the other side I put a little bit of paint, and then I go back and forth on the craft mat and work the paint into the brush, and then I apply it on the edge, in this case on the circles. And I'm applying pressure, and that pushes the paint. And it kind of gives you more of a dissipated look as opposed to a straight edge that you would get if you were to use like a marker. You can use your Stabilo All pencil here, go around it, then activate it with water and kind of tweak it out. That'll give a similar effect. Stabilo All pencil is not permanent, so you're going to have to remember that. So the first step here, we collaged with the napkin. Second step, we stenciled with modeling paste and ink. The third step was adding color. And the fourth step is we're adding the focal points here. And these circles are going to, with the butterflies, are going to be the focal points. Now, you might note, well, the last video, that's a different order. You can take those 5 components of an art journal page and do them in any order. You will get a slightly different effect. Now on this one, I am not using stamping as opposed to the last one. I could have easily used my script stamp and stamped on there or stamped something in the background, but because I had a lot of pattern from the napkin, I didn't need to. That was kind of already, it was like a 2-for-1 with using the napkin. And that simplifies things too, which is great for the beginner. So links to the stencils that I use, the products that I use, kind of the specialized one, can be found in the description box below. If you click on my Amazon link, it will take you through my store. Anything you buy, once you kind of walk through my door, whether it's something that I've listed or not even a craft product, I will get a small commission off of that. It does not cost you more. Now, a word about the links that I've put. Sometimes I give specific links taking you directly to a product that is Creative Katie approved. I do look around and I try to get the best price, but over time, sometimes that changes. So do your own due diligence, take care of your crafting dollars, and look for the alternatives because there are many sellers of the same product. Find one, look for ones that are free shipping, look for ones that are better price. If you go directly into my store, you will see there's pictures of all the products. I've arranged it. I have the stencils that I use. I have stamps that I use. There is paint and mediums as well. And while there may be colors and color combinations that I really like and I can recommend, whether you use craft paint or Liquitex Basics or different things is your own choice. Use what you have at whatever price point you can afford. As you see, with this float technique, with this shading technique, I keep going back and I add more. I layer it, let it dry, come back, add more, till I get the depth and the look that I like. Now I'm just using the same shade technique to go around the edges. And this is something that often with the finishing, that's what makes the page stand out. I'm loving the background, and I could just slap a sentiment on here even without the butterflies. And this is kind of an abstract art. I like putting words on my art journal pages. That's something I do. If this is where you want to leave it here. Pulling up to get the straight edge and drying it. Now I'm going to splatter. And I find splattering kind of makes everything kind of work together. And I'm putting the gold on because there is gold on the butterflies that I'm going to put on. And I typically like to have things in more than one place so that they work together. So I thin down the paint and I use a fan brush. You can use a toothbrush, you can use a different kind of brush. Each is going to give you a slightly different effect. I find I get the best results using a fan brush for splattering. If you make a mistake, you can go in. If everything is acrylic and permanent underneath, you can go in with a baby wipe. Now, because my butterflies, here are the die cuts that I got. They were from the dollar store, and you get all sorts of sizes. and multiples of little ones, which I like, which I talked about how to use those on the page. Now I'm using a bigger word on here, and I cut this out with my Silhouette Cameo, and I painted it black. I just did it on kind of tag board or cardstock paper. And I have black, which ties into the black that I used for the shading. And again, this was something that I had in my stash. When I get out the Cameo Silhouette and cut, I like to cut, some basic kind of words that can go on a variety of pages. Now, if you don't have a Cameo Silhouette, you can, find a script font that you like, print it out, make it big, use bold, and then you can fussy cut around it and get a very similar look. So don't think you need to have the big fancy machine in order to get this look. I'm just using gel medium to glue these butterfly die cuts down. Now, if I was doing this on a canvas that was going to hang on the wall, I would allow these butterflies to be kind of 3D. And that would add to it. But because this is going in a book that's going to be closed, I'm adhering them flat down. Now, in the background, because I use the Naples yellow, and you get little glimmers of it here and there, it picks up the yellow in here. So thanks so much for watching. Please share this video. Support me by sharing this video, liking this video, leaving a comment. That tells YouTube that you like what I'm putting out there. Then my videos get played more. Some close-ups. I hope you give this a try. Go grab a napkin and see where it takes you. Bye.